For 4 years, one of the most famous faces in comedy hid something from the entire world. Not a scandal, not a crime, a woman. While cameras chased his every move, while tabloids speculated about his health, his career, his future, Jim Carrey was quietly in love. And nobody knew her name. Until one night in Paris, he finally said it out loud. Jim Carrey made a rare public appearance with his longtime girlfriend, Mina, at the 2026 César Awards in France, where he thanked her in his acceptance speech and gushed over his family. He was there to receive an honorary prize. Nobody expected a love story. Do you think celebrities owe the public details about their private lives? Or is staying silent for years the smarter move? Let us know what you think. For decades, Jim Carrey was the man who made the whole world laugh. Rubber-faced, loud, fearless on camera. But behind that mask was someone who guarded his personal life fiercely, especially after heartbreak found him more than once. Jim Carrey has been married twice before and is a father of one, welcoming daughter Jane in 1987 with ex-wife Melissa Womer. That marriage ended. So did the next one. And after that came a string of relationships that always ended up in headlines, whether he wanted them there or not. So when a quiet, private woman named Min entered his life, he did something he hadn't done in years. He kept her hidden, completely off the radar. No red carpets, no interviews, no confirmation. Why would a man who spent his whole career in the spotlight suddenly choose silence? The answer goes back further than you'd think. Back to the years before fame. Back to the losses that shaped how he loved. Here's something most fans don't know. While Jim Carrey was busy becoming the biggest comedy star on the planet, his personal life was already unraveling. He married Melissa Womer in 1987, back when he was still an unknown comic playing small clubs. She worked as a waitress at the Comedy Store when they met. They welcomed their daughter Jane that same year. But by 1995, right as his career exploded into superstardom, the marriage ended. Then came a second marriage. Quick and just as short-lived. His Dumb and Dumber co-star Lauren Holly. It barely lasted a year before it was over too. 2 failed marriages, back-to-back. And Jim Carrey wasn't even 35 years old yet. Would you say fame destroyed his chances at lasting love, or was it something else entirely? Next came the relationship that made headlines everywhere. In the late 90s, he fell for his Me, Myself, and Irene co-star Renee Zellweger. They got engaged. Photographers followed them everywhere. And then, just as quickly as it started, it ended. No engagement, no wedding. After Zellweger, he moved on to Jenny McCarthy. That relationship lasted years, stretching into the mid-2000s, and ended around 2010. McCarthy later spoke publicly about the split, saying she was grateful for their years together and would always keep him close to her heart. But nothing prepared the world, or Jim Carrey himself, for what came next. In 2012, he met Catriona White, a makeup artist from Ireland. Their relationship was on and off for years. And in September 2015, White was found dead from a prescription drug overdose. Her death was ruled a suicide. Carrey served as a pallbearer at her funeral in her home village in Ireland. He was later hit with 2 wrongful death lawsuits connected to her passing. Both were eventually dismissed in 2018. Imagine carrying that kind of grief in public, with cameras watching your every move. By 2019, he was seen with actress Ginger Gonzaga at the Golden Globes party. That relationship lasted less than a year. Marriage, divorce, engagement, heartbreak, tragedy. Over and over again, for almost 3 decades, Jim Carrey's love life played out in public, whether he wanted it to or not. So when 2022 rolled around, and a new woman quietly entered his life, something in him had clearly changed. This time, he wasn't going to let the world watch. February 2022. A charity comedy show in Los Angeles, hosted by Judd Apatow, at a small venue called Largo at the Coronet. Nobody in that crowd knew they were watching the start of something Jim Carrey would keep secret for the next 4 years. Photographers caught him leaving that night with a woman. Just Jared identified her only as Minzy. That was it. 1 photo, 1 name, and then silence. No follow-up interviews. No confirmation from Carrey's team. No red carpet appearances. For most celebrities, that kind of blackout doesn't last a month, let alone years. But this time it did. Think about that for a second. In an age where nothing stays private, where every relationship gets tracked, leaked, and dissected online, Jim Carrey managed to keep this woman almost completely out of the public eye for 4 straight years. Have you ever protected something in your life so fiercely that people close to you didn't even know about it? Details about her stayed thin. She's reportedly an actress and artist based in Los Angeles. She shared creative and performance projects on digital platforms here and there, but nothing that put her in the spotlight. No major roles. No headlines of her own. She simply wasn't part of that world. And it seems like that was exactly the point. For a man who lost a partner to a very public tragedy, who was dragged through lawsuits during one of the worst periods of his life, choosing privacy makes sense. Maybe this wasn't about hiding a scandal at all. Maybe it was about protecting something good, something real, from ever becoming a headline. Meanwhile, the rest of the world kept speculating about Jim Carrey for entirely different reasons. His appearance, his health. Rumors swirled for years about why he looked different, why he stepped back from acting, why he seemed to be fading from the spotlight entirely. Nobody was asking about his love life, because nobody knew there was one to ask about. For 4 years, Min Ah stayed a ghost in his story. A name in one old photo caption. A mystery even hardcore fans didn't know existed. But secrets like that don't last forever. Especially not when the world hands you an honor that makes you want to thank the people you love the most, out loud, in front of everyone. That night came in February 2026. And it changed everything. February 26th, 2026. L'Olympia Theatre in Paris. The 51st César Awards. Jim Carrey walked out to accept an honorary prize for his contribution to international cinema. Nobody in that room expected what was about to happen. He gave his entire acceptance speech in French. That alone stunned people watching. But it's what he said next that changed everything. Thank you to my wonderful family, my daughter Jane, and my grandson Jackson. I love you now and forever. Then he paused and said the name almost nobody had heard before. Thank you to my sublime companion, Min Ah. I love you, Min Ah. For years of silence, broken in a single sentence. If you enjoy stories that reveal what really happened behind the headlines, make sure you subscribe. Because some stories are even crazier than this one. He wasn't done. He also thanked his late father, Percy Joseph Carrey, saying he taught him the value of love, generosity, and laughter. In the audience that night sat the people who mattered most to him. His daughter Jane, now 38 years old, his teenage grandson Jackson, and sitting right beside them, the woman he'd protected from public view for 4 straight years, Min Ah. Photos from that night show them holding hands as he left the ceremony. A simple gesture. But after 4 years of total silence, it felt enormous. Reports described Carrey as looking noticeably different that night, with some outlets noting he appeared unrecognizable compared to his years as a comedy icon. Whatever the reason, age, health, time, one thing was clear. The man on that stage wasn't performing for laughs anymore. He was speaking from somewhere much more personal. Most people have had a moment where they finally told someone or something out loud after holding it in for way too long. What made Jim Carrey wait exactly 4 years to say her name in public? We may never fully know. But what we do know is this. He didn't do it at a press junket. He didn't do it in an interview. He did it in French, at an award ceremony, in front of his family, thanking her the same way he thanked his own daughter and his own father. That's not how you introduce a secret. That's how you introduce someone who became family. But even now, so much about Min Ah remains unknown. And that mystery might be exactly the way both of them wanted to stay. So who is she really? Even after going public, Min Ah remains one of the most private public figures in Hollywood right now. Here's what's actually known. She goes by 2 names in different reports, Min Ah and Minzy. She's based in Los Angeles. She works as an actress and artist, and has shared creative and performance projects online. Beyond that, almost nothing. No confirmed birth date. No details about her family or background. No official statement from her, ever. Neither Jim Carrey nor Min have given an interview about their relationship. Not one. Everything the public knows comes from that single acceptance speech, and a handful of photos spanning 4 years. Have you ever wondered how much of a public figure's life is actually real versus what gets sold to us as headlines? That question matters more with Jim Carrey than most. This is a man who spent almost 30 years living through very public marriages, engagements, breakups, and one devastating tragedy that ended up in courtrooms. So when he finally found something he wanted to protect, he didn't hand it to the tabloids. He didn't do a red carpet debut. He waited for 4 years until he was ready to say her name himself, in his own words, on his own terms. Maybe that's the real story here. Not a scandal, not a downfall, just a man who learned the hard way that not everything has to be public to be real. Life can change much faster than we expect, and sometimes the biggest moments happen quietly, long before anyone else notices. As for what comes next, nobody knows. There's been no word on marriage, no ring, no wedding announcement. Just two people who, after 4 years of silence, finally let the world see one honest moment between them. But this wasn't the only chapter of Jim Carrey's story still left untold. His health, his career choices, his return to Sonic the Hedgehog, and the reasons behind his changing appearance all have their own stories still unfolding. That mystery deserves its own video.